Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today we will discuss myocardial infarction. You are already familiar, infarction is a form of cell death. Therefore, myocardial infarction or MI is necrosis of the heart muscle resulting from ischemia. And the major cause of ischemic heart disease is atherosclerosis. You may get a multiple choice question from this line. Men are at greater risk than women. The women are protected because of the effect of estrogen during the reproductive years. However, after menopause, when the estrogen levels fall, then the females also have an equal chance of being attacked by MI. The major causes atherosclerosis. The plaque can be stable one, plaque with a fibrous cap, or the plaque can undergo rupture, and it can also develop some acute plaque change, and ultimately can lead to formation of thrombus, and the thrombus can cause occlusion of the vessel. In 10% of the cases, transmural MI occurs in the absence of coronary vascular pathology, and such infarcts are due to the coronary artery spasm, or they can result from embolization from mural thrombi. Other causes include small intramyocardial arterioles, including vasculitis, amyloid deposition, or stasis, as in sickle cell disease. Now we will discuss the pathogenesis of MI. The vast majority of MIs are caused by acute thrombosis within the coronary arteries. The thrombus causes coronary artery occlusion, and in a typical MI, the following sequence of events takes place. There is formation of atheromatous plaque, and then it undergoes changes. It can become eroded or suddenly disrupted by endothelial injury or intraplaque hemorrhage or some mechanical factors. As a result, there will be exposure of subendothelial collagen, and necrotic plaque contents can get released into the blood. What will be the result? The platelets, they adhere and aggregate, and they become activated. They release certain factors which produce platelet aggregation and induce vasospasm. These factors are thromboxane A2 and adenosine diphosphate ADP. There is activation of coagulation by the exposure of tissue factor, and other mechanisms add to the growing thrombus. Within minutes, the thrombus can evolve to completely occlude the coronary artery lumen. Now, what is the myocardial response to ischemia? The aerobic metabolism ceases and there is a drop in ATP. On the other hand, there is accumulation of noxious stimuli like lactic acid in cardiac myocytes, and there is rapid loss of contractility. This loss of contractility is known as stunned myocardium. Certain reversible changes are seen, including myofibrillar relaxation, glycogen depletion, and cellular and mitochondrial swelling. This 20 to 40 minutes period is critical, because if the prolonged ischemia lasts 20 to 40 minutes, the changes will become irreversible. There will be irreversible damage and necrosis of the myocyte will start. Now I will discuss the blood supply and what will be the result of occlusion of a particular artery. You're already familiar, the left anterior descending branch and left circumflex coronary artery, they supply the left side of the heart. If there is occlusion at this level, what will happen? This area is at the risk of developing ischemia and infarction. The occluded vessel is shown here, and the perfusion, the least perfused and area is this one. The blood supply goes from here to there. Therefore, the subendocardial zone is the least perfused zone, and zone of necrosis will start from this area, and it will extend throughout the entire thickness of the wall. This is the cross section of the wall of the heart shown, and this is the picture showing completely infarcted area involving nearly the entire area at risk. If the blood flow is restored before irreversible injury occurs, the myocardium can be preserved. And this is the basic point in starting the early treatment by thrombolysis or by angioplasty. Stunned myocardium, I've already discussed. There is loss of contractility. The myocardium goes into non-contractile state. The result is the persistent abnormalities in the cellular biochemistry due to the post-ischemic myocardium changes being produced. Myocardial ischemia can also contribute to arrhythmias due to the electrical instability of the ischemic regions, and sudden cardiac death can occur if patient develops ventricular fibrillation caused by myocardial irritability. Irreversible injury of ischemic myocytes first occurs in the subendocardial zone. I have explained this phenomena in the previous diagram, and it is the last area to receive blood delivered by the epicardial vessels because it is exposed to relatively high intramural pressure. The infarct usually achieves its full extent within 3 to 6 hours, and therefore it is important that the clinical intervention should start within this period. What are the various patterns of infarction? The location, size, and morphological features of acute MI depend on multiple factors like the size and distribution of the involved vessel, rate of development of the occlusion, metabolic demands of myocardium, and extent of collateral supply. This has been explained by this diagram. This is the cross section of the heart showing the left ventricle and the right ventricle. This is the anterior part and this is the posterior part. Now, how will the transmural and non-transmural infarct develop? If this artery is affected, permanent occlusion of the left anterior descending branch. You are already familiar that it supplies the anterior portion of the left ventricle. This is the area at risk and it will undergo infarction, coagulative necrosis. If there is permanent occlusion of the left circumflex branch, then the lateral side of the left ventricle will be affected, as shown in this diagram. However, if there is permanent occlusion of the right coronary artery or its posterior descending branch, the area affected will be the posterior part of the left ventricle. Now we will discuss non-transmural infarcts. If transient or partial obstruction occurs in the left anterior artery, there will be regional subendocardial infarct. It has not extended through the full thickness of the wall. Global hypotension develops when there is circumferential subendocardial infarct. And occlusion microinfarcts develop when small intramural vessels they are occluded. Here the LAD is shown, and here you can appreciate these are the intramural vessels which are present within the wall of the ventricle. Now we will discuss which vessel causes the occlusion of particular area in the heart. 40 to 50% of the cases of MI occur due to LAD, due to occlusion of LAD, left anterior descending artery. And you are already familiar, it supplies the anterior wall of the left ventricle, anterior 2/3 of the ventricular septum and most of the heart apex. Therefore, these are the areas which will be affected if this artery undergoes occlusion. Left proximal circumflex artery is responsible for 15 to 20% of the cases of MIs, and the area affected will be left lateral ventricle. Right coronary artery occlusion is responsible for 30 to 40% of the MIs, and it supplies much of the right ventricle. Therefore, the area affected will be of the right side. Now, dominant vessel. What do you understand by dominant vessel? The posterior third of the septum and posterior left ventricle are perfused by posterior descending artery, which can arise from either the right coronary artery in 90% of the individuals or left circumflex artery. The coronary artery that gives rise to the posterior descending branch is known as the dominant vessel, and thereby it perfuses portions of the inferior or posterior left ventricle and the posterior third of the septum. and this is known as the dominant vessel. Thank you, class. The rest of the myocardial infarction will be discussed in the next lecture.